Hi, I'm Cody with Secure Agent Mentor and SecureAgentMentor.com. Thanks for watching. This video we're going to go over how to run a successful but ethical insurance appointment. And the ways to run a successful appointment is there are 4 steps that we use in our agency for all of our Secure Agent Mentor agents across the nation. And that is the warm-up. We're going to go over each one of these in a little bit of detail. The warm-up, the fact-finding, the closing, and the wrap-up. So during the warm-up, the first stage, and this stage starts when you get out of your car and you are, soon as you're driving up and you're walking up to the door, you're getting out, you're going to the door, you're knocking, hello, this is I'm Cody from Secure. I'm here for our 2 o'clock appointment. They generally remember. A lot of times you don't have to say that. But some things I always do when I first get there is I thank them and I compliment them. So I'll thank them. Thank you very much for allowing me in your home. You have a very beautiful home. Looks like you have a real nice family. Looks like you have a lot of kids, grandkids, whatever it may be. I always thank them and I always compliment them. I want to get the appointment started off in a good way, that I'm a nice, respectable human being with a little bit of a personality. And so the warm-up starts in the beginning, and I'm asking, we actually warm up even all the way throughout the appointment, even till we get in our car and leave. And there are softball questions, so to speak, that you can come up with. Well, how long have you lived here? We came from Houston, Texas 10 years ago. Well, what brought you here? Do you like Houston better than you like here? What's your thoughts on that? And so do you have any kids? Do you have any grandkids? And so we're warming up throughout. Looks like you're a huge Dallas Cowboys fan, or whatever they may be, or looks like you guys, do you enjoy living on a farm? I've always thought that'd be so cool, and so you're warming up throughout. And a lot of times we have, what do you think of the weather? And a lot of times we have certain questions that we ask through a typical warm-up process. And we'll eventually get to where we ask the same questions over and over, but we'll throw in some new questions because we want to be original and we want it to feel natural. We don't want to be like a robot, even though there is a system to running a successful appointment. So this is the warm-up part. This is the part where you are figuring out what they care about, figuring out why you're there, and figuring out what their hot button is. Kind of getting a little bit of an emotional attachment with them, and showing that you're a human being, that you're a good individual, and you're someone they can trust. Which brings us to step number 2, which is fact-finding. And we've got a fact-finding system that we use, a complete fact finder, a detailed, thick fact finder. It's not too crazy. It's a bifold, but we go over their health, their legacy, their care, and their income sources. And so we walk through this, and from the very beginning, we are explaining what we're doing. We're going to go over these 4 areas. We gather client information. We're asking them if they own a business. We're asking them if they have grandkids. We're asking them if they have kids, where they live, how many, that kind of thing. And so we're warming up throughout. But once we're getting the fact-finding process, we want to learn about them. And the reason we use a fact finder is we want clients to know that we care about them, that we're more of an advisor than just the typical insurance agent, and that we care about them and the areas of their life. And we want to be a long-term resource. We want to build a relationship with them. And that's the purpose of this fact-finding section. Not only to ask very good questions, but to also get to know them and figure out what they need, so that when we get to the presenting and closing, it's very easy. And so we go through this fact finder: health, legacy, care, and income, and we ask certain questions. We gauge their levels of concern on certain things. We figure out what exactly bothers them, what they don't care about, what they care about, what they see value in, what they don't see value in. And so I won't go through every question, but we have a team of support and a team of agents, including myself, that actually have been in the field and that are still presently in the field, that we used to put this fact finder or client snapshot, so to speak, whatever you want to call it. We spent about 4 to 5 weeks building this. Every piece of it was built for a specific reason. And all of our agents in our agency use it, and they love it, and they're having a lot of success with it. So we put a lot of time and thought into it, and so we were asking certain questions. We're going through it. We are, and even towards the end, we're able to figure out what part we should close on today. Well, Miss Jones, would you agree that it appears you have a little more of a need, or that you care more about, or that you have a little bit of a gap, or maybe you're concerned a little more with this specific area? It looks like your Medicare is of a concern to you, and obviously proposing something that will help benefit you sounds like something that we should offer you. And so here's what we have to offer, and you go into actually presenting and actually closing and actually asking for the business. And so we went through warm up, we went through the fact finding process, and you're warming up and fact finding, both of those you're doing the entire time, so to speak, because even in the beginning when you're warming up, knowing if they have kids and grandkids, you can use that in the fact-finding process later. So you're always warming up and you're always fact-finding, but having a structured process and system where it feels like you're an advisor and that you care can really help and go a long way. Now, during this presenting and closing section, not only are you presenting something that solves their problem or that meets their needs, but you're presenting it, you're giving them the benefits of it so that you can build value, and then you can ask them for the business. And there's a lot of different ways to ask or to close, so to speak. But even agents that don't know how to ask or don't know how to close, they still ask. They may just grudgingly, as Brian Tracy says in his The Art of Closing the Sale audiobook, he says, when he first started, he would go house to house and everyone would say, well, leave it with me and let me think about it. Because he would just present and grudgingly say, well, what would you like to do now? Well, you're still asking. It's a horrible close, but you're at least still asking. And so he eventually got to where he used a no callback close in his. And some of our agents use this close. It's more of a direct close. You got to be more confident to use it. But the way you use it is, they say, well, leave it with me, let me think about it. Well, if they really need to think about it, or really need to talk to their wife or their spouse or their husband, okay. Well, but if they have all the information they need, we would say, with all due respect, Mr. Jones, we don't make callbacks, and you have all the information that you need to make an informed, educated decision today. So why don't you just take it? Which would you prefer? And so a lot of times when we present, we actually give them options. We build benefits and build value first. Then we give them options, and we ask them to choose an option. Sometimes you can give them 2 options and do the either or close. Or you can give them 3 options and say, of these 3, which do you feel like meets your needs the most? Or which of these 3 do you like the best? Or which of these 3 are you most comfortable with? And so you can ask in a million different ways, but you always want to ask for the business. Very rarely are individuals actually going to give us their business if we don't ask. If we don't ask, it's almost like we don't expect them to say yes. And when you're asking, throughout any of the sales process, one thing I want to mention is you always want to assume. Assume. You want to assume that they want you to come in their home. You want to assume that they want you to come sit at their table. You want to assume that they want you to fact find properly and look like an advisor. You want to assume that they want you to present this option because it's best for them. And you want to assume by asking that they are going to buy and actually take action on this today. And so there's several different ways to ask, or ways to close, if you will. We just mentioned the no callback close, and some of our agents do it, and I've used it on a few occasions. And when I've used it, it's actually worked, believe it or not. It sounds crazy. And a quick story, I had myself and a new agent were out in the field, and we fact-finded. We found out this lady had, about 30 $1,000 worth of coverage for about $300 a month of whole life, because she had multiple different policies. She had like 5 or 6 policies. Well, we were able to find a way to consolidate and actually give her $50,000 for $300 a month. She was able to get a lot more coverage, which she wanted more coverage anyway. That was the purpose of us coming out. But she didn't have to spend any extra dollars. Plus, we got her a lot of cash value back in her pocket. Well, when we proposed it, we told her the benefits, we built value, and then we asked her to buy. And in this scenario, we only gave her one option for whatever reason. This has been several years ago. And she said, well, let me think about it, you know, and to be honest, there's nothing to think about. It is clearly putting her in a much, much, much better situation. And it's something that she needs to do. You know, it just flat out, she needs to take advantage of this opportunity. And so I looked at the other agent, and because I was the one actually running the appointment and I was in control, and I looked at the other agent and he was starting to pack up his stuff. And I thought, what in the world is he doing? So I look at the lady, we'll just use Betty. Her name's not Betty. I don't want to use her actual real name, but we'll just say, you know, Betty, we have a rule. We don't make callbacks because you have all the information that you need to make an informed decision today. Why don't you just take it? And she looked and thought, and I saw the other agent's face, and he's like, what in the world did you just do? You know, so she thought, she sat there and thought, and then she looked up and said, well, if you don't make callbacks, it's a great deal. I guess I might as well take it. And she did. And we helped her with the plan, and she thanked us on the way out the door because we did what's best for them. And sometimes, we always do what's best for the client no matter what. We run a very honest, ethical agency, period. But a lot of times the client wants to do it. It's just like they don't always buy on the initial call, you know, and so sometimes they need a slight push. We don't want to pressure them into doing something they don't want to do, but when it's clearly put them in a better situation, or giving them something that they need to do where it's actually better for them and it's actually what they want and what they need, then we need to ask and we need to urge them to take action on it. Another close or way of ask is you could do the assumption. Well, this is what you want, what you need, and it's clearly putting me in a better situation. So I assume that you want to go ahead and take advantage of this today, right? Right, Mr. Jones. And so you're assuming that they're actually going to take action. Another way is the toss-back close. Well, if someone is asking about the product, they say, well, does it come in red? Well, if it comes in red, they probably want it. So a way to toss it back is, well, would you like for it to come in red? Would you like for yours to be red? Or if they say, well, does this build cash value? Do you want your policy to build cash value? Or is building cash value important to you? Or is that something you want? Or would you like for it to build cash value? And so you're tossing it back on them and getting them to agree and say yes about a certain part of the policy or a certain part of the appointment that they want and that they need. You could also use the Benjamin Franklin close, or the Benjamin Franklin decision-making method is what I like to call it. And I've used this and it's worked as well. I've been in homes where they're like, I don't know what to do. I'll say, well, to help us make a decision and do, you know, whatever we think is best for you, we'll say, well, let's use the Benjamin Franklin decision-making method. This is how Benjamin Franklin used to decide whether he should do something through his entire life. And what he did was he wrote the pros and the cons. And if the pros outweighed the cons, then he did it. And so what we do is we write down the pros for them, and we ask them if there's any pros that they want to add or any pros that they see and what's the benefits of doing this. So we're building the pros. They're helping us build the pros. We turn it over to them. We give it to them. And Miss Betty, go ahead and take a second. Think about it very hard, and you write down the cons of doing this. You sit there and you're silent. And sometimes they can think of some, sometimes there can be. And if they say that, then I agree with them. Yes, that's correct. And then eventually they just go silent. They don't have any other cons. They don't know what else to say. And you say, well, would you agree that Benjamin Franklin would say yes or do this in this specific scenario? And they're going to agree because they didn't know what to do, but now they know what to do. And I've used that, and it works. So something I would definitely try. Another way is just the direct close. I know that this is best for you, so let's go ahead and take advantage of this, okay? That's a very direct method. There's a lot of different ways. The key is that you just ask and that you know how to overcome objections. Whether you're assuming, whether you're giving them two options and give them an either or close, or whether you're doing a three options close, or whether you're doing the toss back close or the new callback close, or it doesn't matter what you're doing. The key is that you ask for the business. If we don't ask, most of the time they will not give it to us. Only professionals ask for the business at the right time. If you ask too early, before you've built the value and the benefits of them doing it, they may not be able to say yes yet because we may have prematurely asked for the business. So we always want to be presenting, building value, and asking for the business. Now, in the beginning of the presenting, when I'm selling a final expense life insurance policy, I like to write down the 5 benefits of the policy I'm describing. And a lot of times the 5 benefits will be whole life to age 100, a price lock that's never going to go up, double for an accident, builds cash value, and you get a local agent. And those are the 5 benefits that I like to describe. And then I like to engage them and say, of these 5, which do you like the best? As you can see, I'm building value at this point. I'm getting their input. What do they like? I'm getting them to say yes before I ask them to say yes. And so that's kind of the encyclopedia method, is they go up to the door and they have them say yes. They ask them 51 questions, and if they say yes all throughout, then they think they're going to say yes in the 52nd answer, so to speak. And so there's the psychology of the old door knocking encyclopedia close. And so when you want to build value, you want to show the benefits, build the value, give them options, and ask them to buy. The last part, or the 4th piece of running a successful insurance appointment, is the wrap-up. And during the wrap-up, this is all a part of our fact-finding process. On the back of our fact finder, we ask them, do you feel like you've received value from what we've done here today? Yes or no? And a lot of times we'll actually turn this around and have the client fill it out. And if they put yes, we received value, then we'll go to the next question. Who do you know that can also benefit from our services? We have 3 lines, and we get it, and we get them to write down the name, the relationship, the phone number, and the city of those referrals. And so we're making sure that they got value out of it. And this is if we made a sale. Because if we didn't make a sale, we're not going to ask for referrals, because we're going to be following up and coming back and actually getting the sale. But if we made the sale, we made sure they got some value out of it. And a lot of times if they say, yes, I got value, well, which part did you like the best? Before I ask for referrals. And so then you have the referral question. It's a part of our fact-finding process. It's a part of our complete and whole system. And so they are going through and writing down a few names of referrals. Sometimes you can help them. And then if we didn't make the sale, we have a spot to get a follow-up appointment. What time, what day, what time, and where. Or you could have made the sale. They could have loved it. You could have got referrals. And you may still need to get a follow-up appointment. Maybe you sold them Medicare, or maybe you sold them life insurance. But they want to know about care, or about that 3% guaranteed interest rate that you were talking about. And so we have a chance to get a follow-up appointment for the other needs that they have that they told us they needed, and that we found out they had a level of concern. Maybe they were worried about with care. Maybe they were worried about the location and the quality of their care. Maybe they were worried about protecting assets, or maybe they were worried about being a burden to their family. And so there's different things that we're asking them about, different concerns, and depending on what their level of concern is, then we may need to use that follow-up appointment section to actually get back in the home and present another product, maybe on policy delivery, or maybe sooner than that, just depending on how long that policy is going to take to issue. In the wrap-up section, we are finalizing, we are asking if they saw value. That's more of a confirming question, so to speak. We're asking for referrals, we're getting a follow-up appointment if we need to, and then we're cooling off. We're putting all the paperwork away, we're putting the fact finder away, and we're just cooling off for a second. We've earned the right to sit there and actually cool down with them. We don't want to look like that we just got that filled out, the fact finder filled out, and we got the app filled out, and we closed them, and then we left. Because then they're going to think, well, like unfortunately I was early on in my career, that guy's never going to talk to me again. We're never going to hear from that guy again. He got his business, he got his commission, and that's it. Well, no, we want that client for life. We felt like we did a service for that client, and we enjoyed getting to know them. So let's cool off. Let's take a second to get to know them. What do you guys love to do for fun? If I were to get you a restaurant gift card, where would you prefer that it's from? Do you have like a date night that you go out on? What do you guys like to do? Do you have hobbies that you do? Do you ever go see kids? Do you travel? Do you have any big plans coming up for the next week? Do you have any big plans coming up for the weekend? Do you know how the weather's going to be? And so you're cooling down off of business, asking if they have questions, obviously, but then cooling down off of business before you leave, so that when you leave, necessarily the psychology of it is that, number one, they don't see you as a pushy agent that just ran away with the sale, but also they're not sitting around still talking about business because you cooled down off of business, and you made sure they had any questions that they had, you made sure you got them answered right then. And so from the warm-up, fact-finding, and those are both done throughout, and I hope you can see how. Whether you're warming up, whether you're fact-finding, whether you're presenting and closing, or whether you're wrapping up and cooling down, you have a system to what you do. All insurance agents, they have a system, whether they know it or not. They have like a detailed kind of structure to their appointment. If they don't, they should. Feel free to use ours. Feel free to call me and email me and text me with questions. I can promise you this works, and we have a lot of agents have a lot of success, not only with our appointment process, our 4 steps, but also incorporating a fact finder into the entire appointment. So that using a fact finder, it makes it easier to close. Not only are they a better client, or do you solidify client more, you build a better relationship, you have a better chance at a second sale, but you're building value. They see you as a resource down the road. And you look like that you care about them and that you're doing the right thing. And I hope you do. Hope you're passionate about this career. If you're not passionate about this career, either figure out a way to get passionate, or get out, because there's enough insurance agents that are doing what's not right for individuals or lying to people, and that's not the way we run our agency or our business. We want to be very honest, very ethical, very genuine. We want to always do what's in the best interest of the client. So I hope that you can see some value out of this video. I hope you can refer some people to me. Again, this is Cody, Secure Agent Mentor, and secureagentmentor.com. This video was over how to run a structured, successful insurance appointment. If you have any questions, please, please, please feel free to call, text, or email at any time. Again, thank you for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day and dominate the week. Thanks again.